Viewers and subscribers, welcome again to the Coach's Desk with your host, Coach Minze. And we have in studio, formerly of St. Hugh's High School, Manning's High School, and Louisiana Tech, Nadia Alexander-Pompey. And she is a female athletics coach. Nadia, welcome to the Coach's Desk.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure for us to have you here on the Coach's Desk, Nadia. Let's jump right into it. I want you to just tell the viewers out there, how did you as a female get involved in coaching?
Track and field has always been something I loved. I mean, never did I think I would be in coaching. So when I finished Louisiana Tech, I came home for approximately a year and a half. And you know, we were trying to rebuild the program at St. Hugh's. So I had a conversation with my high school coach and mentor, Mr. Vassell, and we're trying to carry the program in a different direction. So with me coming back freshly off college, she was like, how about you take over the throws so I can focus on another event group that, you know, probably don't have a coach that's familiar with, you know, and I agreed with him. I was like, okay, I'll help you with the throws. Did that for a year and a half, then decided to pursue my master's in the US. And my mom suggested, you know, if you want to pay for school, the best way is probably to do a graduate assistantship since you started to coach that year in Jamaica. So I said, okay, let me apply for it. So I applied for a few jobs. I remember applying for Virginia State, and the then head coach, he reached out to me. And he and I were talking back and forth for probably 2 months. I mean, every time we thought we were getting it worked out, something would come in the way. But then, you know, it worked out. I ended up going there as the graduate assistant throws coach. After being there for a year and a half, finished the master's, they hired me as a part-time assistant coach. From there, I just kept progressing throughout my career, you know, assistant coach, head coach at the D2 level, and then head coach at the D1 level.
Awesome journey there, Nadia. Now, what was your time at Manning's and the St. Hugh's like?
Both had their interesting parts. I remember at Manning's, originally, you know, I was a sprinter. I remember the first day of practice, you know, my coach was like, okay, you're going to run the Landila and come back. And I mean, Landila from Manning's is like 1.5 miles, 2 miles. So I'm like, that's the warm-up? He's like, yes. I'm like, so we have more stuff to do after that? He's like, yes. And I was like, hold up. And this is me coming out of, you know, primary school. You just go to track meets and run. You don't know all this long. And I will tell you, I'm the laziest, hardest worker you'll ever meet. And I just thought it was too much running for me. I mean, I remember my first track meet, you know, did the 100, went out, and I'm like, look, these girls too fast. I need to find something else to do. Then I saw one of my teammates then, her name Kamisha Marshall. I was like, you know, what event you do? I don't see you out there running with us. You know, she explained to me she did the discus, and I was like, okay, I want to try that. And that's kind of how I really ended up in the discus at Manning's. Really looked up to her. She helped guide me through, you know, learning the discus and everything at Manning's. I remember she's the first Jamaican to win the discus at the Penn Relays. And I was just amazed by that because, you know, in my days, I tell everybody, the landscape of throws is far different than what you see now. When we went to Penn's, if you entered in the discus, you're probably the only person there at the discus circle. Then after my 5th form year, my father was moving to Kingston and my whole family is St. Hugh's. So once I heard the move to Kingston, there was no if, buts, or maybe. A lot of people asked me, you know, me being good in track, why St. Hugh's? St. Hugh's never scored no points at champs last year. Why would you go to St. Hugh's? I keep telling them, I said, it's in my blood. It wasn't an option. It was different because even though I went to St. Hugh's, I never trained there. I trained with Mr. Vassell at KC. So it was an interesting transition because I didn't know the girls on the team. They thought it was just me trying to be separate and apart from them. But I already started to be pretty decent in the throws. I didn't see why I would put myself in a situation they didn't have a throws coach. So prior to my arrival, we spoke to the vice principal, the head of the department, and said, look, you know, I'm going to be here competing for St. Hugh's, but I'd like to train at KC. And, you know, they were okay with it. Did that for the 2 years. And it worked out. I tell everybody, Manning St. Hugh's, 2 different ends of the spectrum, country versus the city. But, you know, I enjoy both.
All right. So what was your exploits at Boys and Girls Champs like?
I always tell people full of silver. It was fun. My first medal was my a second year class 3 in the shot put. Then shot put was open. I got a bronze medal. Then in class 2, I got silver both years in both shot put and discus. And my last year when I was supposed to win it all, unfortunately, I still got silvers. But at the end of the icing on the cake was, I ended up going to pen relays and winning the shot put. So I guess, I choose the gold watch over the gold medal.
All right, good. All right, you went to the Louisiana Tech. You want to walk us through that year or those years of Louisiana Tech as a student athlete?
When I went to Louisiana Tech, I will always thank Coach Carmichael, because even though I won pens that year, I will admit it wasn't one of the furthest distance to win pens, but at the end of the day, a win is a win. He saw me at pens and he was like, for me to come there, when I tell you, when I threw at pens, it was me, my mom, Tamale Carr of Woolmars, and my coach and my cousin. It was 5 of us. That's the only people that were there by the circle. So he figured for me to come in a circumstances like that and win, it spoke to, my dedication and hard work. So I remember Jason Dads Morgan, that man is like a brother to me. I saw him at a track meet and he was like, yo, I heard Carmichael trying to get you to come take, we're going to do great things together. And I said, okay, let me go. Through the years, it was rough going to Louisiana in the middle of nowhere, not a lot of Jamaicans there. They've never seen a lot of Jamaicans. I got asked all the stupid questions anybody can think of. People telling me, I'm not Jamaican because I'm light skinned. But at the end of the day, I thank God for the circle that I had. You had Jason Morgan, Brenda Grace Hunt, Felicia Reynolds. If I didn't have that group of people there, I'm not sure how I would have made it through. Jason and I went through a lot of track meets. We made the national team together. We competed at La Tech together. So he's a real good friend of mine. He helped me with my throwing more than, anybody would probably know. So I always tell people, when you choose a school, make sure you choose the school that's right for you. And also make sure you're not a lab rat. And by lab rat, I mean some people don't understand what kind of transition it is for an international person to come and just dive into a situation. And I don't think if I didn't have that support system when I was at Louisiana, I don't know if I would have made it through college.
Right. So it's indeed a huge risk for student athletes to go in a situation where they have no friends, no families, and so forth. So I'm happy that you're stressing the point that the support system played an integral part in your development and in your transition as a student athlete there at La Tech. Now, tell us about those times making the national team.
So I made much teams. I only made one character, which was my last year. So I remember my freshman year, it was like, more of a transition, me trying to figure out, where I belong in this sport, if this sport is really for me. And I remember my sophomore year, Dad's pulled me aside and said, come on, Nadia, you come too far for waste time. Let's really do this. And I remember there were days he and I would go out there on Sundays by ourselves and, figure out stuff to do. So my sophomore year, which was 2006, I made the CAC games. I was so nervous. This is my first senior team. I've only been on one junior team before. I was so nervous, but I was also so excited because I'm like, this is all I ever wanted was to represent my country. Then the following year, I made the Pan American Games in Brazil. This is 2007. 2008, we had some issues. I don't think I ended up going on that team. 2008, 2009 went to CAC championships in Cuba, and 2010 I made the CAC games in Puerto Rico and Commonwealth Games in New Delhi, India.
All right, awesome. Now, Nadia or Nadia, whichever way you pronounce it, you made mention of you coming back to Jamaica after college to give back to coaching, and you started out back where it started at St. Hugh's High School. You want to roll back those teething years that you went through?
So when I came back, I was one of those athletes. I had my entire workout for the year. So every workout my coach gave me for the year, he put in this folder. I had it. So when I came back, of course, you're just doing it just because that's what you did. But it was an interesting year because one, it was kind of hard for Mr. Vassal, and I get it. He had groomed these athletes to this point for him to just say, all right, Nadia, you take over. So what I did was I coached alongside him for a while to kind of, get the ropes, kind of understand why we're doing this. I mean, that was the year we had Kanija Reina, Candice Bernard, Devine Brown. So we had a very good group. And then I was nervous because I'm like, okay, like Candice says primed to break the class 1 discus and the shot put record. I cannot mess this up. So it was nervous, but he helped guide me. He explained through the process. He'll call me, even though he wrote most of the workouts. He'll call me and he'll explain to me. So this is why we do this. This is why we do that. Yeah, this is why I want them to do this. What you think? Would you make any adjustments? And he really fed off a lot of things that I did at La Tech. And he like, okay, so this is her problem. What did you do when you had this problem? And we kind of just bounce ideas off each other. And I think during that process, that was very important because it's not like being thrown to the wolves and you're just making up stuff off the top of your head. He really helped groom me and guide me through the process that year and a half.
Awesome. So I would say kudos to Coach Vassal there. Now, Nadia, you did your first coaching job there at St. Hugh's. I just want you to highlight for us. You are now head coach of that's Florida State University, right?
Florida A&M.
Florida A&M, yes. Thank you for that correction. So now you're a head coach. After sitting in so many seats, whether grad assist or assistant coach, you're now head coach. You want to walk us through that challenge of being in the driving seat?
Is when you're the head coach, a lot of people think, the head coach, you get all the, all the glory, but they forget all the hard work you put in. Yes, you get the good, but they forget, you have to also take the bad. They forget, you have to do the budget. If something go wrong with, the bus that you book for this trip, that falls on you. It don't matter if you assign that to an assistant.
So
and that's what I think. Huh?
So the buck stops with you as the head coach.
Yes, and people sometimes forget that part. When the glory happens, you're the person there smiling, but they forget, when the things happen in the background, that it still falls back on you. Okay, I assigned this to an assistant. I say, you book the bus. No bus is there. Nobody going to call that assistant to find out why no bus is there, why you didn't go to the meet, why you didn't do this. They're calling on the head coach, and sometimes it becomes stressful. I remember days being at practice in the middle, telling somebody what to do. I get a phone call and have to run to the business office to go clear up something. I forget to sign something. There's so many things you have to supervise. Even though you assign stuff to people, no matter what you assign to them, it still have to come back to you. So I assign you to do all this paperwork. At the end of the day, it's a head coach signature. So that's the part that people sometimes forget. They think, the head coach don't nothing because they have 4 or 5 assistants, which is true, really not true.
So tell us about that experience there, your first year in that hot seat.
It's my first year here. It's not the first year being a head coach. I've been a head coach for the last 4 years. But this first year was interesting. I know everybody always say the first year is the rough year, but this one was extremely interesting, especially with the whole COVID-19. I started in October, so I came on as the head coach, knowing that the year before, the person that served as the interim for both programs was also here. So he started the year as the head coach kind of for both. So then I came in October trying to say, okay, hey, I'm now the women's head coach. So it was an interesting transition, not just for the athletes, but people across the campus to understand that now the program is split. We have a men's head coach and a women's head coach. And hi, I'm the women's head coach. So that is one of the things that I really had to battle with this year. Also, for them to understand me and me to understand them. So there might have been things that was implemented prior to me, but at the end of the day, it's my program. If, something go wrong, it fall back on me. So that's not how I want to do it. Let's adjust, let's, set different, change the rules a little bit. Let's do it this way. This is how I prefer it. So that was really challenging. And, as finally, as we're starting to get the swing of things, people really start to get used to, boom, COVID-19 and everything shut down.
Okay. Now, separate and apart from your coach's education, how has your master's degree in sports management basically set the way for you to become head coach of that institution, or head coach in general?
One of the things I really liked about my master's program, it wasn't just a sit down and let's write these problems. I'll give you a question and you solve the problem. One of the things he did, and some people said, oh, it wasn't, good, it was a waste of time. But if you really did what was required of you, you really learned a lot.
Right.
So in our program, at the beginning, what he would do is everybody creates a profile of themselves, their resume, and he'll give you 20 objectives. And the 20 objectives is work on something with the athletic department, work on something with Rudy Johnson Foundation, which is a sporting, work on something. So he'll give you on something with Special Olympics. He would say what, he would just find something to do with them, and you have to go to finish, the planning process, executing it, be there for the event, and then write something up. And I think that helped me because I'm not a regurgitate type of person. I'm a hands-on, let me go through the thing. So, working on different things with the athletic department and different things with different organizations really helped me in my planning and execution of the different tasks. So that's one thing I'm thankful for, the way he approached it. Some people think, it wasn't the best way for them, but for me, it really worked because I worked through the different things that he required, and I learned so much from it. And I think with that, it helped me as a head coach.
Definitely. So that would have been paving the way for you to be actually in the seat that you're currently in and the ones that you would have been in before. Mm-hmm. Now, what is your area of specialty? I heard you mention about the throws, but could you just elaborate on your area of specialty?
My specialty would be the throws. I was a thrower. I started off as a throws coach. People don't understand that sometimes at the smaller schools, you coach more than just the one event. So my first full-time assistant job was at University of Pennsylvania, which is a Division II university. I was the field coach, meaning everything that's on the field I coached. The wonderful thing about field events, it's kind of all the same explosiveness. So as long as you work on the explosives, then nine times out of 10, it will kind of work. One of the things I really learned from one of my college coaches is if you're not confident, your athletes won't be confident. So that first month, I will tell you the truth, I did not know what I was doing with the jumpers, but I did it with confidence. So they bought into what I was doing. And I did my research and I called, various coaches along the way to ask advice. But, I was at Mississippi Valley last year when I was coaching the throws and the sprints, which is an odd combination, but the assistant I hired wasn't, confident coaching the sprints. I was like, okay, I'll do it. I remember when I decided to coach the sprints, the first person I called was Lennox Graham. I mean, he was the head coach at KC when I was training there. So he saw me from athlete to, where I am now. So I said, yo, Sergi, I need a sprints program like yesterday. And, he didn't send me one. He kind of just helped me figure it out along the way. But, throws would be my specialty. But the only thing I've never coached is the hurdles and the pole vault.
Okay, awesome. Now, do you believe that you are given the respect of your male coworkers?
Short answer, no. To an extent, sometimes. I remember when I just started, when I was an assistant at Lincoln, and I mean, no disrespect, but I competed Commonwealth Games. I've been to Pan American Games, NCs, finished 10th at NCs and everything. And we're at the throws area, and I said something, they made a mistake, and I'm like suggesting it, and one of the officials look at me like, what do you know? I mean, I've had instances where, people tend to go to my male counterparts before they come to me. I mean, I don't want to kind of pinpoint the situation, but as a female, not just a female, but also a Black female, I think there's more that can be done.
Okay, I definitely understand what you're saying. Normally, when females excel in a particular field and they take up the certain responsibilities, normally persons don't respect them until their work continues to speak for them. So we know that your work is going to speak for you, or it has been speaking for you. And now we wish you all the best in this capacity that you are, and that persons will start to recognize the talent that you have there.
Yes,
Now,
thank you.
Nadia, what is your coaching philosophy?
Such a broad thing. I mean, I always believe you should listen to your athletes. That's number one. A lot of coaches, and I've experienced athletes who've told me, well, my coach always tell me this is how she do it, and that is how they know how to do it, and they're not doing it. And I've found out that that doesn't necessarily work. Especially last year, like when I was coaching the sprints, I knew the program was right, but if the athletes don't believe it, then it's not going to work for them. So one of the things I really do, I listen to my athletes, and everybody's like, why that's going to cause so much confusion? And I'm like, it depends. It depends on how you look at it. I remember one of my 400 girls, she believed, oh, she needs to do 200s, 200s, 200, 200. So, you give her a day when you give her a couple 200, it's not going to kill her. I mean, it's probably not exactly what you want to do.
Yes.
Even with my throwers, there are things that in their mind it works. And I believe, if it can fit in the program, what harm is it going to do to just give them that just so in their mind? Because I mean, I believe, track and field is more mental than it is physical. So, I listen to my athletes. It's the mental game. I try to make them see the vision instead of just me, saying this is what you need to do. Da, 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 da. I really communicate with them. I have an open door policy. I allow them to be probably more involved than probably most coaches would let them be, because in my experience, I've had greater success that way. We sit down, we discuss the workout. I mean, if it's something that they really think will, help them improve, as long as it can fit in the workout, I will add it to the workout in the way I see fit. Because from my experience with my sprinters last year and my throwers, if half of it is them believing in what you're doing. So if they don't believe, then there's no point. So that's kind of how I've approached it.
Awesome there, Nadia. Finally, what is your ultimate aim or goal as a coach?
I just want to keep helping the student athletes. I want to help guide them through the process. I tell some of the things that really give the greatest joy is to watch them figure it out and not only win but improve. Of course, the winning is fantastic, but for them to improve and for them to get the passion, and for them, because nothing, gets me more than when one of my athletes call me and say, Coach, I was doing some research, because people will be surprised. Not everybody is like us Jamaicans who track and field is everything. I've had athletes who, I want to win this. Okay, what won it last year? I have no idea. So when I see my athletes actually starting to do research, and I remember one of my 400-meter girls called me, she's like, Coach, this girl ran this time, I need to do the things like that. Really get me excited, because now they're beginning to understand the sport. So, I just like to help them improve. Well, I like to tell them all the time, you don't want to move, I'll help you to figure out the process. So one of the things I would really love to do, is become almost like a liaison between whether it's Jamaica or the Caribbean, and kind of guide them through the process, because there's so many things that they don't know that they think they know. And there are different ways to skin a cat, and they don't understand. I've been through the student athlete, the grad assistant, the assistant coach, the head coach, who best can guide you as to what you need to do. So sometimes when I tell you things, it's not because I want you to come to my schools, because I want you to make the right decision for you, and I want you to think it through.
Awesome there, Nadia. Now we're at the end of this segment. And before we go and close off the show today, I'm just giving you the opportunity to say any final words, any final thoughts that you'd like to share with us.
I just want to share that, people always, when you decide to go to a school, make sure that you do your research. I know people like to send these emails talking about, well, nobody on your team running what I'm running. The question that should be asked is that person that you're referring to is on scholarship. Know how to approach the coaches, because the first impression, contrary to what you believe, it really does make a difference. And do your research. It don't matter what level. I mean, Daniel Williams show you can go to a Division 2 and still become a world champion. So make sure you do your research on the coach, on the program, on the university, and ask the questions. No question is stupid.
Awesome, fantastic for you to share those thoughts out there. And I guess those words goes towards the student athletes coming up. Now,
Yes.
We're out of time, like I said, Nadia, and it was a pleasure for us having you here on the coach's desk. And definitely, if you reach to the top, we'll certainly do it again, because we're wishing you all the best for this coming season. We know that it's going to be a trying time because of the advent of the pandemic and so forth. You're going to face different challenges, new norms that are taking place. But we wish you all the best. Be safe and do the best for you and your charges to do well. All the best.
All right. Go Rattlers.
Cool.